I'm sure you remember last year when AI became the craze. Literally overnight, this new word was born into our vocabulary. We think of a bobcat as far as technically called a skid steer or Kleenex. As far as these brand names like this, there was been somewhat of an evolution to get to this household name status. Well, ChatGPT and AI were literally created, it felt like at the same time, not really, but as far as the mass adoption around this becoming a viral sensation, ChatGPT is a household name overnight, literally at the same time that AI was as well. To the point that as you go to e-commerce related conferences, literally every tech vendor has AI in their technology in one way or another. I'm not here to judge how beneficial it is, but I will say that I am betting that here in the next, I don't know, some period of time, we're going to start to see companies come out and saying that they are not AI powered. Whatever that's going to look like, it'll be interesting. But in today's conversation, we're going to hone in on 3 wins and 2 traps related to using AI in your workflow. We're not talking about tech vendors here, but some ways that have been helpful for me here at SwiftOtter, and ways that I've had in the things that I've heard in the conversations that I've had with other merchants as well. This is some of the areas that I think will be dramatically beneficial as far as thinking about how AI should fit into this. It's been an ongoing question, and I hope that this conversation here is enlightening for you today. I'm Joseph here at SwiftOtter, solutions consultant and president, and I'm really excited to bring this information to you because it is our goal here to help you become more effective at what you do. You have a lot that you have on your plate, and if we can even introduce 1% efficiency through these videos, that makes me really happy. Because to be honest, our goal is to implement this type of educational or this type of a consultative approach through everything that we do for our clients, help them succeed and accomplish their goals. In today's video, we're going to start talking about some news that we're seeing here in the industry. One of them is pretty important. You've probably already seen it, but it goes here to mention what's happening here, as well as talking about these 3 wins and 2 traps with AI. If you're enjoying this video series of the eCom Buzz, feel free to come over here, scan this code, link will be in the description below, and join our mailing list. We would love to have you here to be able to continue sharing this information with you on a bi-weekly basis. Let's jump into our conversation about the news. AI videos. So Shopify, it's actually been out for a little while, but Amazon recently came out with something that's a little bit similar. Basically allows you to create like product mockups or modify images all with AI. It's pretty powerful. So, for example, from what I'm seeing of this demo on Amazon, I haven't actually tried it out myself, but there you can take a picture of a mug and you can put it into this AI background and it creates this incredible looking mock-up. So, that's a big deal. And if you're doing anything on Amazon, it's worth a check out because it was just released. And it might give you a leg up on your competition here until the mass amount of sellers on Amazon start utilizing this. Number 1 is these AI videos. Shopify's had this for a while. So check this out. We also have more links in the article that's associated with this on our website. Surprise, surprise. We live close to an airport here. So I guess we're somewhat used to it, but just hearing this whooshing sound all the time as drones are constantly coming and going, people are not liking that. And so this does represent a step forward in e-commerce and last mile delivery, which is fantastic. But, with technology comes challenges. So I'll be curious to see how this works out. Ultimately, people are excited. Amazon is excited, and I guess perhaps customers too. Certainly it's a novelty, but we're going to see how this all works out as far as the people not liking the sound versus Amazon wanting to get packages to their customers as quickly as possible. That's number 2, drone delivery. We'll see how that plays out. But number 3 is kind of the biggest deal of them all. I said it was going to be. So this shipyard strike you're probably aware of it, and you're probably understand what's happening. But I think from an e-commerce perspective, what is this going to look like? I actually saw on a website this morning, pleasanthillgrain.com. They're already putting messages up about this. And I think that's probably a good strategy for as you anticipate shipments starting to be delayed. Who knows how long the strike is going to last? I hope it doesn't last at all, that they're able to get to a successful resolution. But until that happens, and I guess for a while after that, as the blockage slowly starts being released as far as goods into the United States, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. So it might be advantageous to get ahead of customers and be very transparent up front. It's also it's a nice marketing touch point. It's legitimate. It'll result in potentially a boost in sales temporarily. Obviously, that'll be offset by having the lack of sales, but really being transparent with your customers as far as what it's looking like, what your stock levels are, because that's going to be a question they are now starting to ask. It's all over the news. The strike is now happening, and what are you doing to get ahead of that and to allay fears that deliveries are going to be delayed? Obviously, that's not going to be as much of a concern, but more as far as back orders and stock arrival times, being very transparent with them as far as what's happening there. So with that said, let's move into and talk about AI. And these are some really, I think you'll find them interesting areas as far as how to use AI in a way that complements you as opposed to replacing you. And that's kind of the big question that's on everybody's mind is AI going to replace me? And I have no doubt that it's already replacing jobs at some level. But I think for us professionals as well in these areas that it can have a significant impact, our goal is to become so much more capable than what AI can do, and thus leveraging AI to make us even better at our game. The funny thing is AI has given us plenty of entertainment thus far. I think you've all probably seen how the Google AI suggest, or I'm sure they fixed it now, but adding an 1/8 cup of non-toxic glue. It's good that they mentioned non-toxic glue to our pizza sauce. That's going to improve the tackiness, and you're darn right it's going to improve the tackiness. Just classic AI. Perhaps is all that is needed is a teaspoon. But honestly, not even that's necessary. It's just the AI hallucinating, coming up with these funny answers or questions. In fact, in our article, I linked to a Twitter thread that is hilarious. It is outstandingly good. Some of the stuff that Google was dreaming up to the point of recommending smoking while pregnant. It's unbelievable. But they're fixing it. They're working through it. So the idea is, how can we utilize AI to our benefit to make us a superhuman as far as our capability to deliver content? And I have these 3 wins and what I'm going to call 2 traps. The wins are ways that you can utilize it in unique areas. The traps are ways that things we have to be careful of to not necessarily don't use AI, but things landmines that can easily blow up that you have to step aside from. So with that being said, let's jump in. Number 1, to generate images. To be honest, you're going to find a lot of AI generated images on our website. We're still working through as far as how this process looks and as far as some brand identity perspective there on our website, but it works and it's quite easy, and the output is quite decent. So for hero banners or maybe even product mockups, utilizing ChatGPT, the DALL-E 3 model, is really quite good. I have in the article as well a reference to the list of styles that ChatGPT can utilize. So there's quite a few different styles, and it's impressive. And so if you look it through, obviously you want to center on a style that fits in with your brand identity. but ultimately it's not bad. And what in fact I have done sometimes is using the DALL-E 3 image generate image, because I find they're a little bit better than the Adobe side. Use it to generate an image. In fact, the image that is being used on our LinkedIn ad today, or not ad, the post for this episode of eCommerce, the eCom Buzz, is actually a DALL-E 3 generated image. So what you can do, and I've done this sometimes as well, is take it into Adobe the Creative Suite, so their Firefly image generation engine can create, you can modify it. So whether it's extending, making the image bigger, although Canva also has some tools to do that too, modifying things, whatever. The biggest downside with DALL-E 3 is it's not always consistent. You can put the same input in once, then come back some period of time later, or just make a slight tweak to it, and it could be a completely different image, different rendering. Everything is different. It's like, shoot, I just wanted to, I don't know, remove this person from the output rendering, and what you get is completely different. So that can be a little bit frustrating. But a couple of tricks that you can use with image generation in DALL-E 3, or DAL-E3 as you see here on the screen, is you can ask it to reverse engineer. So take any photo or art work or drawing, illustration, and you can ask it to reverse engineer. So basically you say drop the image in the prompt and say, what is the prompt to create an image like this? Again, these prompts are all put in the article here, linked to in the description below. All it takes, and it will come up with a prompt, which then you can feed back into it. And I've tested this, and it works pretty good. The output is quite similar, not identical. It is AI. The output is quite similar to the original output. It's pretty good. So that's one thing that you might find handy. The other thing is, again, inconsistency with the image output. I have also a link here as far as how you can get it to lock it in. And I found that one of the better ways to get it to lock in is to ask ChatGPT to reverse engineer a image, and then using that output to create, to make some minor modifications. That actually seems to work quite well. But win number one, use ChatGPT, AI, whatever you want to use. There's plenty of other image processors out there for generating images. It works fantastic. Win number two is to distill information. And this one is interesting because as we're creating a product description or a landing page, of course, we need to make it SEO friendly. So we have our meta description, we have our page title. So what do you put in that? Is sometimes just me boiling down content is really hard. Is it just like straight marketing hype? Is it a condensed version of what we're trying to convey in the article, etc.? It's difficult. So you can point ChatGPT at a website. Literally type in your landing page or your product page URL, and say, generate a SEO-friendly meta description for this page. And boom, by golly, it will do it. It will do it super fast and easy. In fact, you can tell it to generate 3 meta descriptions, so you can pick your favorite and then start modifying from there. That's pretty nice. You can do it for page title, whatever you'd like. I have Claude AI. A friend of mine suggested I use that, and to be honest, I like Claude AI better than ChatGPT when it comes to some of this human language rendering. From a human language perspective, it's much more natural. It's really good. The big downsides to it is it does not read the internet, so you cannot point an article to an article or a product page or something, landing page. It's not going to pick that up. The other downside to Claude is it doesn't do image generation. So I've used Claude for a while. I love it, but to be honest, maybe I'm cheap, paying $20 a month at each place. They have free versions, but I kind of found myself going back to ChatGPT for the image generation capabilities. And that's pretty much the only reason. Otherwise, I would be hands down using Claude AI every single day. I really like it. It's a great interface, much more natural as far as language processing goes. And so I would definitely recommend that. But use it to distill information. The third one, and this is probably the most helpful way for me as far as when it comes to content generation that I leverage AI, and that is to cover the bases. And I still use both these tools, ChatGPT or Claude AI. But let's say we're writing an article and it's something we're familiar with. It's just almost as knowledgeable about that as like the back of our hand. Like we know this subject inside and out. But we also have to recognize we're humans, and we focus on something, we might get distracted. So coming back and trying to make sure we have all of our bases covered is difficult. Just slips our minds. So utilizing AI to help us make sure we have all of our bases covered, I found has been really helpful. In my experience, I don't know, I probably get 75% of all the bullet points that I need to when I'm evaluating a topic to write on or building out an article. As far as an outline goes, I have most of those set from the beginning, 75%. But there's a couple in there that's like, oh, shoot, I didn't think of it. Or maybe it's helping me change the way I frame a bullet point on there. Just kind of a separate way of thinking about something without having to go bother somebody to ask them the question as far as to review this particular topic. And that's where I feel like that's where one of the biggest values of AI here is it's like it's like a subject matter expert that's an assistant. And how often do we get to work with somebody who's fully available all the time for us as a subject matter expert? Like never. Well, maybe some organizations, but not here at SwiftOtter. I wish it was, but we have a lot in the pipeline, and we're all have a lot going on. So it's not necessarily something I can just bounce off of everybody every day of the week. But using this to make sure we have all of our bullet points set. We understand what this is talking about, framing some different language ideas for these bullet points. This is really, really helpful. So I would say this is the biggest win, massive win for me here as I build content. I leverage ChatGPT and Claude quite extensively for this. Moving on, let's talk about some traps. So this is not reasons that you should ban ChatGPT, which I've heard some organizations talking about doing here. Not talking from that perspective, but just things that you need to keep in mind. I think one of these is obvious, but I think the other one is a little bit less obvious. And that one that's a little bit on the more obvious side is trusting the output. The output is, well, we've heard those stories about how it can hallucinate. I mean, Google AI for their search results was hilarious. It was amazing. It literally, I don't think people actually could have written something that was as humorous as it was. And hopefully nobody actually took the advice of some of that stuff. But trusting the output, and that's blatant, that's obvious. But there's stuff that it's easy just to look at and just say, oh yeah, that's true, and realize that it actually made up a source for that it believes was correct. And that's personally why I never use it to create a content for me or at SwiftOtter. You've probably done those searches, especially those how-to articles, where it's just you go to the website and it's just this massive blob of what you can tell is ChatGPT generated content. We know it's not human, it's not natural. Now, obviously, there's a point to maybe some people then going through and editing and making it sound more natural language. My thought is going through the right creative process, actually writing the content, it doesn't take that much more effort to just write it as opposed to leverage ChatGPT or something like that to write it, and then we have to go back and edit it. Because ultimately, part of content is we bring a subject matter expert perspective to the table. ChatGPT is not a subject matter expert. It can double check, but it is not that. And so if we are truly wanting to get maximum impact for the content that we're writing, we can't trust the output. We have to double check it. It's still probably a good idea to have it there, but at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we are properly or treating this with proper caution. Speaking of caution, the trap number 2 is AI is not your local or immediate confidant. I have a couple stories linked to here in the content or in the article where actually Samsung was one, and then there was a research project. There's a lot. OpenAI gets a lot of information that is they shouldn't have access to. How do they get access to it? Well, they're not hackers. People literally give them this information. and it's then can be used for training purposes. I'm not sure exactly how much is, but their terms of use say that they can use that unless you opt out. And how many people actually opt out when they're signing up for an account on one of these AI websites? So treat it with caution. Don't be uploading your sales information or your patent documents or whatever into there. That's going to create some problems. Instead, use it to support your efforts. Just think twice about it, just like we think twice about clicking a link in email, or we're supposed to at least. Think twice about how it's used and leverage it as a tremendously powerful assistant to make you a superhuman at whatever it is that you're working on. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up today. Hope you found this helpful. And if you did, make sure to head on over to swiftotter.com/ecom one of those short little hyphen deals, buzz, swiftotter.com/ecom-buzz, the buzz. We have it right here as far as how to help you become more productive.